In Rome this morning, it felt like everyone in the city was trying to squeeze their way into St. Peter's Square to get one final glimpse of the Pope. It was a pilgrimage that began for this group of children more than 1,000 miles away in Swindon. Their journey had been planned for months and was meant to end with a performance in front of the pontiff, who their choirmaster met in October. The Pope's death coming just days before their concert.
I was sad for the children because they were so longing forward to meet him in person. Nevertheless, we still want to go and pay our final respects to him.
By this morning, 100 of the choir's young singers had made it to Rome to celebrate a mass for Pope Francis, singing for him as they'd always planned. And if a few of them looked a little weary, there was good reason.
We went straight to St. Peter's Basilica to see the Pope, and we waited in a really, really long queue. And by the time we left the church, it was 3 in the morning.
Was it worth it?
It was absolutely worth it.
It was sad, but it was a memory that I made.
The chance to create those memories, to feel part of history, drawing the curious in alongside the devout. And whether it was faith or something else that sustained them, they kept coming, capturing each moment and sometimes sharing them with those who couldn't be in Rome in every language imaginable. But if technology connected some, its use, especially inside the most sacred of spaces, divided others.
It's not respect for the Pope, for us, for the Argentinian. It's not good.
Even though, I did think, the selfie sticks are a lot. I did think, it's so nice to see people engaging in whichever way they want.
And perhaps it should be recorded that when the hour came for it all to end, it wasn't the peal of Rome's bells, but an alert sent to phones that signalled it, a rather alarming end to the centuries-old ritual of lying in state. With some left disappointed as the barriers went up, in preparation for the presidents and the patriarchs who will attend the funeral tomorrow. The French president, Emmanuel Macron, and his wife arriving in time to spend a few moments beside the late Pope. Then the doors closed, and suddenly, after 3 days of crowds, they began the process of restoring his solitude, including more intimate moments, as a few trusted cardinals presided over the sealing of the coffin. Outside, the stage set for the Pope to be celebrated in this most serene of settings, although the fractious relations between some of the world leaders coming mean it may not always feel that way when mourners gather here tomorrow. Who invited that lot, reads the graffiti on a nearby wall, no doubt in the mind of the artist, about whose goodbye would have mattered most to the Pope. Rachel Younger, News at 10, the Vatican.
Well, Pope Francis' open coffin has been on public display in St. Peter's Basilica since Wednesday. Tomorrow, the coffin will be carried out to the front of the Basilica where the funeral will take place. As per the Pope's wishes, the ceremony will be simpler than traditional papal funerals, with an outdoor mass in St. Peter's Square. More than 200,000 people are expected to attend, including representatives from more than 170 countries. After the funeral mass ends, the coffin will then be taken to its final resting place. In his will, Pope Francis requested to be buried in a tomb without particular decoration at the St. Mary Major Basilica, one of his favourite churches, making him the first pontiff in more than a century not to be buried in the Vatican. And the funeral will mark the first of 9 days of mourning. Well, we can talk now to James, who's just outside Vatican City in Rome for us tonight. James, this is first and foremost a solemn ceremony, a funeral, but of course it will be an extraordinary spectacle, not least with the gathering of world leaders.
Yes, and with so many world leaders there, I mean, as you say, an extraordinary number for the funeral of someone who is a religious leader, that with so many there, inevitably there is going to be diplomacy as well. They are arriving this evening. President Trump arrived within the last hour. Before he got on Air Force One, said he was optimistic about the way the peace talks were going. What is going to be interesting is whether President Zelensky of Ukraine turns up tomorrow. It's looking like he won't, although he's still on the official Vatican guest list. The last time he met President Trump was, of course, that disastrous meeting at the White House. And with Trump having been really very critical of Zelensky recently, it may just be a bit diplomatic, his absence tomorrow, although, of course, he's dealing with that terrible strike in Kiev. The European leaders are there. Sir Keir Starmer arrived this evening and has already had a meeting with Italy's Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni. She, of course, was the last major European leader to have spoken with Trump and is very invested in the whole Ukraine issue. What we'll wait to see is whether, to what extent the Europeans are going to be given a readout on those talks going on in Moscow today. Certainly earlier this week, the Americans didn't come to those talks in London. They didn't want Europe involved. Tomorrow, Trump will probably be talking to them, although obviously the funeral is the main event and the main purpose of the day. There may well be other news as well.